Ladies and gentlemen, we have officially done it. We are on the doll. Okay, so I just wanted to share with you a little bit what it's like being on Universal Credit. Since last week, I am, of course, jobless. So, the first thing to do is to think, is there any way that I can support myself while finding a new job? Some of you might have come across a scheme called Job Seekers, and that's basically being phased out. A lot of all these credit schemes are all being phased out in favor for universal credit, which should just make the whole process a lot simpler. Now, to be honest, I really don't like taking a free paycheck. I don't like taking a free ride, but to a certain degree, this isn't a free ride at all because people like me, or in general, most people who work hard, make money, earn money, pay taxes on everything they earn. And it's through these taxes that we can actually create schemes like these. So, in the rare instance that I actually need to rely on one of these schemes, I shouldn't really be made to feel guilty for using it, especially if it's just for a short period of time. And to be honest, it's just because there's some lag time between getting fired and getting a new job. I'm actually been doing pretty well. In the two application processes that I've been going through, I've only had success. So I've moved on to the third stage in one. I've just submitted for the second stage in another. And everything's going fine, to be honest. And I can still apply to many more jobs to even expedite the process. But I didn't record the phone call, but I wish I did to a certain degree because I was on Job Seekers, I believe, like 2 years ago or so. And to be fair, I thought Universal Credit would be different. I didn't think it would be very similar to that experience I had in Job Seekers, where they kind of make you feel guilty for having any kind of ambition to apply for the kind of work that you're best suited for. Back then, they're very cynical, and I guess I can understand. I've never actually worked in a professional environment back then, but now that at least I've been claiming to have worked in a professional environment for quite some time, they're still pushy. Like, they're asking, what kind of job role do you have? And I was like, well, I'm a senior Android developer. And I can actually just wait and take you through what it's like, accepting your commitments and stuff. I don't know if I'll get in trouble for uploading this publicly, but it seems to be all fine. It's just my own data I'm leaking out there. That's all good. And yeah, so essentially, you just have to agree to everything here. Nothing too interesting. And what I was talking about before is that, I mentioned that I'm a senior Android developer. And she kept on asking me on the phone, like, what other jobs can you do? I'm like, well, how many people do you know that can do that many different kind of jobs? It's only unskilled jobs that you can somewhat arbitrarily switch between fields and careers. Like, if you're an Android developer, that's pretty much all you're gonna want to do. Now, I guess you can do software development in general, but once you get to a senior level in one field, it is actually pretty difficult to move over to a senior in another field. It's almost like you would have to take a step back at the very least. The best way to move over is to actually get a job as a senior Android developer, but it has like additional responsibilities. Like, maybe part of your responsibilities would be doing web. So then in your CV, you can put senior/web, because those people are typically going to be looking for either an Android or a web developer, and they're happy to let you train to get the other half. So that's all fine. And that makes it increasingly easy in the future to essentially apply for a senior position in your secondary role. But she twisted my arm continually, and eventually I had to settle on web developer. But she kept on asking. Even this wasn't enough for her, which was quite frustrating. And also she was asking, so how much will you be making, or how much did you make in the past? I said, well, in the past I made 29,000. And yeah, no, but the new roles I'll be going for will be quite a lot better. She was saying, are you sure that you can only apply for senior roles? What about junior roles? And I was like, seriously? At least what I claim to have 3 years of experience as a senior. Why on earth would I go apply for junior roles? In fact, the people, the recruiters that would pick up my CV, seeing a senior applying for a junior role would be very suspicious. But anyway, that is a crazy amount of overqualification going on there. So they'll be incredibly suspicious. They would not want to move forward with my application. And I told her this, and she was like, but have you tried? And it's just one of those scenarios where people use that against you. Whereas, like, have you tried sticking a knife in a toaster? It's one of those scenarios. It's like you can kind of expect what the outcome would be, so you just don't bother. Now, maybe in her defense, she was saying, well, it doesn't hurt. You might as well spend your time doing that. And in my opinion, that's a complete waste of time. I didn't even get into the issue of pride, because settling for a role like that doesn't make sense for an employer. It doesn't make sense for me. It doesn't make sense for the world. Like, people should be able to use their abilities and capacity to its fullest. And I understand there's a grind to get there. You might have to demonstrate your ability, but once you've done that, it's almost an insult to every party involved to essentially settle for very little. Now, of course, if the job hunting process had stretched out for months and months and months and nothing had come back, then you would have to, slowly start to increase your search criteria. But we haven't even got to that point yet. It was literally, I think, a few days into this job hunting sort of process that I'm already being told this kind of thing. And that is frustrating to hear. I think that was one of the reasons I thought, oh, wow, Universal Credit is actually very reminiscent with job seekers. Anyway, thanks for tuning in to this week's episode. And next week's episode, I will probably continue where I left off. That will make this content a little bit stale. The only reason I'm doing this is because I've caught a little bit of free time today, and only today, and I'm gonna be super busy again. Creating content for next week's episode will be a bit rough, so I've kind of pre-recorded next week already. I just need to edit it, which will still take quite a lot of time. Hopefully content does pick up again. You might be able to even tell that my voice sounds a little bit different, and that's right, because I'm actually using a proper mic setup now, which is pretty dope. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Till next time.